Welcome, everybody, to the College Football Prediction Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. We are at week 6 in the college football season. We have some big games on tap this weekend. We're going to break down, preview, and predict every game with a top 25 team in it. I am your host, Mike Goodpaster, and I want you to also go check out BetMGM. You can check a link to the description below if you're watching on YouTube. And make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell notification button, and you can follow me at Grueling Truth on Twitter. All right, guys, we're going to start off with the Red River rivalry game between the Texas Longhorns and the Oklahoma Sooners. We came into this year, Texas looked like a team that should be one of the best teams in the country, but with Texas, they almost always look that way, and it kind of falls apart in the end. Not so much this year. And the Red River Showdown is the highlight of week 6, which features four games, I believe, between ranked teams. And when we look at this, right now, Texas against Oklahoma, Texas is favored by 4.5. That line is ticked up to 5 and even 5.5 at some books. So there is confidence in the Longhorns in this matchup, who won the Red River Showdown last season 49-0. This is a different Oklahoma team with a healthy Dylan Gabriel, though. 8 of his last 10 matchups have been decided by one score, but only one of those games was won by less than 5 points in this series. So Quentin Ewers has 289 yards, 4 touchdowns in last year's game. Watch the completion percentage. If it's around 70%, the Longhorns will win this game. I have seen Oklahoma play. Oklahoma's a good team. They're a lot better than last year, but so is Texas. Texas beat Bama. I think Texas, right now, just with that Bama win, has every right to complain about Georgia being ranked number 1 instead of themselves. So right now, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Texas. I'm going to give the 4.5 points against Oklahoma. I think this will be a very good game, but I think Texas actually pulls away late and wins this game by 10 points right in that area. All right, that brings us to game 2. The surprise of the Big Ten right now are the Maryland Terrapins, who are undefeated. They will travel to Ohio State to play a Buckeyes team coming off a huge win against Notre Dame. Ohio State's favored by 18.5. This is Maryland's best start in over 20 years. It is best team since coming into the Big Ten. The shoe has never been kind to the Terrapins. It's almost never kind to anybody that's in the Big Ten that's not named Michigan, who did get a win last time they played there, I believe. They have lost 4 games there by an average of 47 points a game. This is a different team, though, and a chance for veteran quarterback Tua Tagovailoa to make the statement against a defense that has allowed just 8.5 points per game. Maryland also has forced 3 turnovers per game against FBS schools. This will be a trendy upset pick, but I believe the Buckeyes will be ready. I believe the Buckeyes will win the game. But, guys, I'm going to take the 18.5 points in the Maryland Terrapins. I think Maryland's a good football team. I think this game ends up being in a range of 34-20. I think 18.5 points is way too much. Next up, let's see if Brian Kelly can put his ass completely on the hot seat as he goes to Missouri to battle the 20th ranked Missouri Tigers. Missouri has covered in 3 straight weeks, and 4 of their 5 games have hit the over mark this season. LSU was stunned by Ole Miss in week 5, and now the trick is maintaining focus on the road. Quarterback Jordan Travis and Jackson Dart both torched LSU's defense. Brady Cook, the quarterback for Missouri, has a 72% completion percentage. Miami beat LSU 45-41 a couple of years ago. We think LSU, I don't know. I don't know that LSU has the defense here. So if you're going to give me 6.5 points of Missouri at home, I'm going to take it. Take Missouri, take the 6.5 points, and I think Missouri's got a really good shot to win this game. Next up, the team that I believe a lot of people are sleeping on in the Pac-12, the Washington State Cougars, who are undefeated, are ranked 13th. They will travel to UCLA to play the Bruins. The Bruins are favored by 3.5 points. And this line has stuck despite the fact that the Cougars are ranked and have been a super dog this season with 2 outright upsets. Both teams had a bye week, and we're looking forward to the quarterback duel between Cam Ward and Dante Moore. These teams haven't played since the Bruins won 67-63 back in 2019. The last 5 meetings have been 1-score games. I think Washington State pulls the upset. So I'm definitely going to take Washington State to 3.5 points here. But I'll tell you, I would take that plus 125, 130 right now and bet Washington State to win this game straight up. Next up, Virginia Tech at Florida State. Virginia Tech seeing hard times right now. Ever since Frank Beamer left, it's kind of been downhill. It's proven here by the fact that the Seminoles are 25.5 point favorites coming into this game against the Hokies. And that's a huge spread for a conference game, knowing the Hokies have not given up more than 35 points in a game, and they're coming off a victory against Pitt. Florida State presents far more challenges to defend. The Seminoles had a bye week, and this is just their second home game of the season. Look for Florida State to get the running game on track, but this line is way too much for me at 25.5. I think you get Florida State winning this game like 38-20, 38-17. Either way you cut it with that, it covers under 25.5. So Florida State will definitely win the game, but Virginia Tech will cover. Next up, the demise of Alabama. Hasn't really turned out that way. I know they've struggled early. Quarterback Jalen Milroe has settled in as the starter for the Crimson Tide, which is huge for Alabama. And he made his first start last season against Texas A&M. Aggies quarterback, Max Johnson has 2 career starts against Alabama. When he was at LSU, I believe it was, in 2020 and 2021, the Aggies have had balance in offense with Johnson, and the defense has been great with the exception of that Miami debacle. That said, a defensive game favors the Crimson Tide. The Tide are favored by 3.5 points. I'm going to take the Tide. I think they win the game straight out, but I'm definitely going to jump on the 3.5 points. Next up, we had Syracuse, who was undefeated the last week when they got ran out of their own Carrier Dome against the Clemson Tigers. They will be 8.5 point underdogs as they travel to North Carolina to take on a Tar Heel team that is ranked 14th. You've got Drake May, one of the higher rated quarterbacks in college football. And the Orange had 3 turnovers and a 31-14 loss last week against Clemson. Now they face the Tar Heels, who had a bye week to prepare for Garrett Schrader. Clemson took away Schrader as a running threat, and that led to problems. The Tar Heels will take him away also. Plus, the Tar Heels are 3-0 against the spread when favored by single digits. So at 8.5, I think you get a North Carolina win in the 31-21 range. So I'm going to safely bet North Carolina. I'm going to give the 8.5 points. Next up, the Kentucky Wildcats will battle the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia's favored by 14.5. Kentucky's ranked at the top 20. The Bulldogs are 0-4-1 against the spread, despite an unbeaten record. And they have trailed at halftime against South Carolina and Auburn the last 2 games. We've been waiting for that all-out blowout that reminds voters that Georgia is still the team to beat. And Kentucky's not going to be easy to blow out. Ray Davis was coming off a 280-yard, 4 TD performance against Florida. And the question is, will Devin Leary protect the ball on the road? Georgia has won the last 5 meetings at home in this series by 26.6 points. I'm going to take Kentucky to cover this. I wouldn't be surprised if this game is not decided until the last few minutes. I really like this Wildcat team in what I think is a down SEC this year. Georgia overall has struggled more than not this season. I'm going to take Kentucky into 14.5 points. Next up, we go back to the Big Ten, where the Michigan Wolverines will battle the Minnesota Golden Gophers. This game's in Minnesota. Michigan is favored by 19.5 points, and the Wolverines lead the FBS in scoring defense at 5.8, and they have allowed 7 points or less in their 5 games this season. Minnesota's 3-0 straight up at home this season, but they allowed 30.7 points per game in their last 3 games. Michigan has won the last 3 meetings, including a 49-24 triumph in 2020. Minnesota has allowed 400-plus passing yards twice this season. This is going to be a huge day for J.J. McCarthy. I think Michigan wins this game in the 42-10 area. I think Michigan easily covers the 19.5-point spread. Next up, Notre Dame, coming off back-to-back tough weeks, plays another ranked opponent as they will travel to Louisville to play, Coach Jeff Brom's undefeated Louisville Cardinals. Louisville's now ranked at the top 25. Notre Dame's favored by 7. The Irish were in prime time in a big game for the 3rd straight week against an undefeated opponent. This time against an approved Louisville Cardinals team under first-year coach Jeff Brom, who did a great job at Purdue. And the Cardinals have a solid defense that only allows 17.2 points per game. And the Irish cannot afford to look ahead to the Week 7 showdown with undefeated USC. The Irish covered their last two single-digit spreads against North Carolina State and Duke. And Sam Hartman leads another road victory here that sets up the showdown with the Trojans. I believe this, guys. I believe Jeff Brom has done a great job with the Louisville Cardinals. I don't think they're as good as the record indicates. I don't think they're a top 25 team. I think Notre Dame covers this 7 points fairly easily. I think they win by 2 touchdowns. Next up, the Arkansas Razorbacks will battle Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. Ole Miss is coming off a signature victory for Lane Kiffin and a whirlwind 2-week stretch where they lost to Alabama, and then they got the huge victory against LSU. What's left in the tank for a matchup against a reeling Arkansas team that has lost 3 straight games? Ole Miss is 3-0 against the spread as a favorite this season. The home team has won the last 4 meetings in this series. Is no stranger to wild moments. Look for Jackson Dart and KJ Jefferson to author the latest chapter in crazy performances in this game. Right now, Ole Miss is favored by 11.5. I'm going to take Arkansas in the points. I do believe Ole Miss wins the game, but I think 11.5 is way too many points to give here. Next up, Georgia Tech. The Yellow Jackets will travel to Miami to battle the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes are 19.5-point favorites. They're ranked 17th in the country. Miami's coming off a bye week, and the offense has operated at a high level with quarterback Tyler Van Dyke. The Hurricanes have scored 38 or more points in every game this season. Georgia Tech is coming off an embarrassing 38-27 loss to Bowling Green and demoted its defensive coordinator. The Yellow Jackets are a mess right now. They are 2-1 against the spread. But this is kind of a backs against the wall moment. Miami is just a better team. Miami's favored by 19.5. I think Miami scores 45 points in this game and covers the spread relatively easy, or as easy you can cover a 19.5-point spread. All right, the Fresno State Bulldogs. They lost Jake Hader after last year. We thought, maybe they'll drop off. They haven't. They're ranked 24th. And the Mountain West gets a primetime spotlight game between Fresno State, the Bulldogs, and the Wyoming Cowboys. Wyoming has already beaten Texas Tech and Appalachian State at home in non-conference play. And running back Harrison Whaley averages 8.3 yards per carry. How will the Cowboys slow down Fresno State quarterback Mikey Keene, who has a 151.3 passer rating? The Bulldogs have shut out the Cowboys each of the last 2 seasons. Right now, Fresno State's favored by 6.5. I'm going to lean towards Fresno State, even on the road, to win the game by a touchdown. So I'm going to go with the Fresno State Bulldogs, guys. Next up, I think another overlooked team in the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is loaded this year. At least it looks like it so far. You've got Oregon State favored by 9.5 at the California Golden Bears. Oregon State grinded out a 21-7 victory over a very good Utah team. Now, Utah didn't have Cam Rising, but they do have one of the best defenses in the country. They've had an extra day to prepare for Cal. Watch the turnovers here. Cal has a +5 turnover margin, but they had 3 turnovers and losses to Auburn and Washington. All right. Their quarterback protects the football, and the Beavers score another Pac-12 victory on the road, which makes this Oregon State team, people need to start paying attention to it. Now, the point spread here is 9.5. I'm going to take Oregon State, and I'm going to give the points. Next up, we've got another Pac-12 battle. We've got Arizona at USC. And when you look at Arizona and USC has won 10 games in a row in the series, but the last 3 victories against the Wildcats have been by just an average of 6 points per game. Now, when I look at this, Arizona's 2-0 against the spread as an underdog in a pair of 1-score losses this season. The Trojans are 2-3 against the spread, despite an offense that averages an FBS best 53.6 points a game. I'm going to take Arizona, and I'm going to take the 21.5 points because USC offensively is as good as any team in the country. Defensively, they may be as bad as any team in the country. USC's defense needs to step it up if they're going to hang in a very good Pac-12 this year. All right, guys. Thanks for watching the show. Make sure you check us out every week on this. We will also have betting previews for Major League Baseball playoffs, which you can see all of our wild card previews on YouTube right now. Make sure you follow us on Grueling Truth, at Grueling Truth on Twitter. And like, subscribe, hit the bell notification on YouTube. Check us out on Spotify, iHeartRadio. We're on over 300 different media outlets all over the world. But for now, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.